Welcome to our PHENET webinar on behalf of the entire consortium. So PHENET, it's the EU-funded project that deals with tools, methods for extended plant phenotyping and environment typing services in European research infrastructure. And within this webinar series, we would like to take you to the journey to introduce all the ongoing activities in PHENET. So there will be 4 consecutive Fridays around the same time. There will be 4 webinars addressing assessment of crops and forests performance across scales, biotic interaction in agroecosystems, genotypes times environment interaction across scales, and digging into the complexity of soil components. You can find also the link on the website and also register, and feel free to circulate the announcement about the webinar widely. And we are very happy to present our activities in AgroServe. The idea is that we also within this webinar would like to have your feedback. So there will be also a small survey. You can look at basically screen the QR code, you get to the survey, and there will be also a link in the chat where you can basically respond to the survey. The reason behind that is, as mentioned, so PHENET will co-develop the next generation of tools, methods, and services for the development of crop varieties, agricultural management practices for future climatic scenarios in Europe. And this is part of the services that are already there in the involved research infrastructures, such like ANAE, developing experimentation in ecology, ELTER, long-term monitoring of ecosystems, Elixir data management, and emphasis plant phenotyping. And the goal is to develop cross-disciplinary services, implement them also in this research infrastructures, and make them available for you as users for your specific research. And in this context, we also would like to have your feedback, what services are demanded in your specific research area. So feel free to go to the survey, fill it in, and provide you information. It helps you for your future research. And as such, we would like to move on to the topic of today's presentation or today's webinar. So the idea is to talk about assessment of crop and forest performance across scales. The first speaker will be Bertrand Muller from INRA, who is also the coordinator of PHENET. He will introduce PHENET and also the webinar. Then Xavier Dreyer from UC Leuven, he will talk about methodological presentation about Earth observation services. Then Laurent Saint-André will talk about, from INRA, will talk about a case study in Dollar Valley, a regional scale approach. And finally, Arthur Monval from Soil Capital will talk about capabilities of research infrastructures to support farmers. You can put your questions into either into the chat or the Q&A tool. You should be able to find it somewhere at the bottom in the chat. So please fill in your questions. We will try to address all your questions. There will be, after every talk, there will be 5 minutes discussion. So you can also raise your hand or do both. Put your questions into a chat, and if we don't manage to answer your questions orally, then we can also basically respond to your questions in a written form. And as such, without much ado, I would then invite our first speaker, so Bertrand, to introduce PHENET and also the webinar. And Bertrand, the stage is yours.
So welcome everybody. It's a pleasure to present PHENET, what we are doing. So I will not reformulate the title you have in front of you. It's about phenotyping and variotyping. So hopefully you know what's behind, and hopefully you will know more after the end of this webinar. 29 partners. Our logo are on the top of the screen. You can see. And it's a 5 years project. It's a 5 years project with 10 million euro funding by European Union. So let me start. So, well, it's not surprising that PHENET's agenda stands on a series of threads. We are all aware of global warming, heat waves, soil degradation, biodiversity losses, agrochemical pollution, all threatening food security and planet security as a whole. And as an avenue that is quite widely accepted in the community, that to promote resilience to this threat, we would like to develop agroecology-based agroecosystems, leveraging more on biotic interactions, innovative practices, combination of species and future genotypes who would be selected on new criteria, all being able to cope more efficiently with future and potentially extreme climates. And for this, so we need to build models that we want to have a predictive, of course. We want to predict what will be in the future, what would be the best combination of genotypes, environment management, species to cope with this. And of course, to feed the model, we need data. Okay, so that's the scene. And the other part of the scene is that we are quite well armed, or European research is well armed to perform such complex analysis and predictions, anything in particular to what Roland introduced as a research infrastructure. So what are these? They are set up to gathering services for the community, for instance, giving access to instrumented platforms, dataset methods, etc., etc. Among these infrastructure, so we have emphasis devoted to high throughput plant phenotyping, crop phenotyping in particular. ANAE gathers instrumented ecosystem. ELTER is more devoted to gathering long-term socio-ecosystem observation, and Elixir provides data services for life sciences. So with this in hands, we hope to be able to get the phenotype, get the environment, their interaction, and run predictive models to figure out what would be the optimal traits and combination of traits, combination of species, combination of genotypes for this future agro-ecosystem. As a quick example of what is an NRI, so of course the one I know the best is a emphasis. Emphasis is infrastructure for high throughput plant phenotyping devoted to genotype, by environment, by crop management analysis. So it's a series, a range of tools and instrumented platforms, from the more controlled conditions to the more, say, open field, open air conditions, going through intensive phenotyping practices. I will not go into detail, up to, let's say, what we could call more lean phenotyping practices in fields. It's backed by services around image analysis and data. And this European infrastructure is supported by several national infrastructure. You can see the several logos here. Okay, so that's fine. That's the scene, but we believe there is still some problems. If you really want to go for what we can call a big data analytics strategies, gathering all the data, we want to be as powerful as possible to make these accurate predictions. First bottleneck is that phenotyping and environtyping, despite this large set of instrumented platform, is still based on a limited number of sites. We do not cover all the diversity of agroecosystem and environments. Whereas, I mean, of course, these platforms are much fewer than of course what the diversity of ecosystem and ecosystem exist in nature. And also we should also be warned that we do have difficulties to translate control to feed information and from current genotype environment interaction into future genotype and future environment. A second bottleneck is about the data that we believe are still underutilized. We produce massive amount of data, but we should acknowledge a good part of them never are insufficiently used. They are insufficiently connecting one with another, and they are globally more relatively poorly interfaced with predictive models. So how to move on based on this analysis? So PHENET exactly stands on this analysis, and in order to to develop a big data analytics strategy. We aim at deploying and developing high throughput phenotyping and environmental typing beyond the highly instrumented platforms. And we do that through a series of technical work packages. So it will be just one of them will be presented today, but we would like to develop and implement low-cost, low-energy, IoT-based sensor network. We will talk about this on another webinar. Today we will talk about services based on the next generation of high-resolution Earth observation services. Of course, we would like to promote and implement data and model fair-based interoperability principle and semantic web services, and explore new predictive modeling strategy based in particular on digital twin and artificial intelligence. So all this is backed by a series of papers. I will not go into detail about it. I will just briefly say that this web package feeds what we call use cases that some will be presented today. The idea is to feed use cases, so a concrete example where these technologies and methods can be developed, co-developed, and implemented. So the first example, the first set of use cases is the one we are going to talk about today. It's about assessment of crops and forest across scales, and this is both are really rather large scale, hundreds, tens to hundreds of square kilometers. So this is pretty unusual for, let's say, for plant biologists, but we are really zooming out to consider either a network of farmers. We will hear about this, about farm to platforms, and the Dollar Valley will dig us into all the complex issue that we face in a forest valley facing climate change, among other threats. So that for today. Next week we will have 3 use cases discussed about biotic interaction in agro-ecosystem. One is about AI solution for health evaluation. This is the example is wheat headlight tools to characterize pathogen infection. There will be a use case about intercropping, and here the idea is to develop a database to really gather all the experiments that are run on this very complex matter. And then a third one will be about how to use bumblebee colonies activity as bioindicator. This comes from a territory in Germany where this is performed. Third one will be genotype by environment interactions across scales, and we have 2 examples on this matter. One on cereals, so annual crop. It's basically wheat, and we will hear how we will use a different level of data and scales of data to inform models in particular. And the other will be on perennial plants, orchard, more precisely very intensively relying on the European set of sites where the same population of hundreds of apple tree cultivars are gathered. And the last one will be about soil, more precisely. We call it digging into the complexity of soil component. It covers very different aspects. One will be about the development of a sensor for capturing soil organic carbon with near infrared. This is a portable instrument we will showcase. And another one will be about soil phenology, how our tools and methods can be used to capture climate change and soil phenological mismatch among organisms. If you're curious about this, join this webinar in a couple of weeks. So that's here for now, and for this overall presentation. I will not repeat what Roland said about the different speakers for today. So we will start with Xavier. If you didn't do it yet, click on the QR code to answer our survey. Write your question in the Q&A part of the Zoom.